Welcome to a podcast celebrating Scottish culture and entertainment, which is here to sing the praises of books, films, comedy, music, theatre, exhibitions, telly, poetry, and all that jazz. I'm Nicola Meehan. I'm an arts writer and broadcaster, and I'll give you the lowdown on what's coming up, what's happening now, what came before, and what we love, which is to say that every week, nearly, I'm here to give you a Kick Up the Arts. Now, just very quickly, a reminder that I would love you to join me for a Kick Up the Arts live at this year's Edinburgh Fringe. I'll be at the stand 2 to 3 p.m. with Still Games' Gavin Mitchell on August the 18th, Barbara Dickson on August the 20th, Grant Stott on August the 21st, and Amitri's Justin Currie on August the 23rd. I'll be announcing more fab guests very soon. Before that, the awesome Bob McDevitt is going to join me at the Portobello Bookshop on July the 9th. There are tickets to all of those shows I've mentioned and more via akickupthearts.org. I'm also thrilled to be coming to the Edinburgh International Book Festival and to Butte Noir, and I'll tell you more about those events soon, or sign up for the newsletter. It's at the same place, akickupthearts.org. Right now, though, we're in my hometown of Stirling for the launch of the brilliant crime writing festival Bloody Scotland, which started back in 2012. I am just back home from the launch. It was great fun as ever. I was in conversation with global best-selling author Linwood Barclay about his new supernatural thriller and chiller, Whistle, which is out now. The event also saw director Bob McDevitt and this year's guest programmer Ian Rankin chat about what's on this year's bill. So I was standing there, I was listening to them, and I suddenly realised that we should really be doing a launch podcast to celebrate. So my daughter dropped off my recording equipment. I cajoled Ian Rankin and Bloody Scotland founder and author Gordon Brown, aka Morgan Cry, and writer Natalie Jayne Clark to join me. And we sat down, had a blether, and had a flick through this year's brochure. Natalie's terrific novel, The Malt Whisky Murders, incidentally, is shortlisted for the festival's 2025 Debut Novel Prize. And this year's McIlvanney Prize for Best Scottish Book of the Year will also be unveiled at Bloody Scotland. It runs, incidentally, in Stirling from the 12th to the 14th of September. And can I just say right now, I am really looking forward to chairing a very special Rebus event, which you'll hear about during this very chat, and also a conversation with writers Mark Billingham and Laura Lipman, who have written 50 best-selling novels between them. Anyway, here we are. Ian, Natalie, Gordon and me in a hastily cobbled together studio in a room at the Golden Lion. And guess what? Linwood Barclay even joined us. Here we are. Well, listen, thank you so much. I just literally kind of strong-armed you all, and I'm not even that very strong. Upstairs at the Golden Lion, scene of my high school prom.
Oh.
Way back in the day. Yep, police were involved. Ian Rankin, you can write a story about that another time once I give you the details. So yes, we've just had a chat with the wonderful Linwood Barclay, and before that, this year's Bloody Scotland programme was unveiled. Now, because I was meeting Linwood Barclay at the time, I didn't hear everything that's coming up. So I'm going to leave it to you guys a little bit to go through it. But I think first of all, and since the first page I've opened this at, is an introduction from Bloody Scotland 2025 guest programmer Sir Ian Rankin. Tell us what you're putting on. Can you remember? There's loads.
To be honest, until I got the brochure put in front of me, I'd forgotten some of it. There's one which is me on stage with two actors who've played Rebus.
Yes.
The actor who does the audiobooks and the actor who played Rebus in the last stage play. So we're going to get different takes on playing a character in different ways. I think that will be interesting.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, okay, I've agreed to that. What else have I agreed to? I've agreed to interview Kathy Rice, all the way from North America, about the entire body of her work. And on top of that, I'm also doing Richard Coles, I'm doing Kate Atkinson. Who else am I doing? I'm doing Philippe Sons, who's a human rights lawyer, who's written a book about Pinochet's Chile and its links to Nazi Germany. And also the Whiskey Night. We're doing the whiskey and music, where we've got two writers with novels, crime novels, who are also.
What was that?
That was my green room.
Rider being emptied.
Rider being emptied.
And it's just past lunchtime.
Yeah, so we've got Mull Historical Society and James Yorkston, and it'll be a night of kind of whiskey and music.
Where's that going to be?
I don't know where it's going
That's going to be brilliant. I'm first in the queue for that. And obviously, I won't let you drink quite as much as you clearly have in your green
Natalie,
room
who's sitting next
today.
to me just now, is going to be chairing it. So
quite.
She'll
So
be herding
I'm
cats.
fully prepared.
The absolutely brilliant Natalie Jayne Clark. We've got the Malt Whisky Murders right in front of us, doing brilliantly already, isn't it, Gordon?
Very, very good.
Superb.
Lots of shop windows, which is very beautiful to see. I've been having loads of pictures sent to me from people all over.
And rightly so. I mean, it's so prominent. I'm just starting it and utterly loving it already. But you go way back with these sorts of festivals, don't you, as well? These book festivals and things like Bloody Scotland are so important for upcoming and new writers as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm someone that's worked in the art scene for a wee while. I came back to Stirling, actually, to do my Masters in Publishing because I was like, I want a change, want something new. Yeah. And from there, I started volunteering at lots of different book festivals, and now I'm a freelancer that works across different festivals. I love it. And then I pitched at Bloody Scotland Pitch Perfect in 2023. Yeah. And here I am a year and a half later, with a book that's been shortlisted for an award.
Oh,
the debut prize for Bloody Scotland.
Which is utterly, utterly wonderful. Maybe tell us a little bit more about the Pitch Perfect idea, Gordon, and also just the ways in which, yes, we can come and see hugely celebrated writers and guest programmers like Sir Ian Rankin here, but also if you're just starting out, the kind of potential to have your voice and your story heard is brilliant, and that's so important.
Yeah, if you go back in time to when we started Bloody Scotland, this is number 14. So it was, the first meeting we had was 2010.
Wow.
That was the first time we met. And one of the things that happened at that meeting, I was talking to Alex Gray and Lynn Anderson, who they'd been at Harrogate, I think, and they were saying, look, there's all these Scottish writers. I think Ian was there. I think Chris Brookmeyer was there. There was a whole bunch, and there was nothing in Scotland. And they talked about why can't we have like a festival in Scotland? And I remember sitting there because I was a relatively new writer, and I uttered the words, well, how hard can it be? Yeah, and next thing I had a coffee with Lynn Anderson at Princess Square, and we started to bash out the idea. But the original idea was to celebrate Scottish writing, Scottish crime writing, and then on top of that was to encourage new writers. That was one of the key things. Was. And to that end, that's been the kind of lifeblood of Bloody Scotland. You were in Pitch Perfect, Natalie, before, and now you're in this year.
I'm here, and actually, you started this while I was at uni studying English in Stirling, so I came to the first one.
And Graham McRae-Burnett did the first Crime in the Spotlight in 2015, and he went on to get Booker longlisted.
Yeah.
In fact, Crime in the Spotlight, which is the little thing that I come up with this idea of, can we have a support band to the main act? I like my music. Yeah. So therefore I said, could you put an author on for 3 minutes before the main author?
Get to discover.
Just let the audience see them. And each year we have between 10 and 12, maybe a bit more. But this year it'll be the 150th Spotlighter will go through. So that's 150 authors starting on their debut. And that, for us, that's the most pleasing thing, because 3 or 4 years later, they're on the main stage.
Yeah.
That's the key thing for us.
And you're supporting them in their journey from the go. Yeah.
And it's also the thing of having to get used to, because it's part of it, get used to sort of performing your work, delivering your work and being on the stage. Whenever I've seen that, especially at the Albert Hall and things, I think it's just a great addition to have these voices. I'm loving we're hearing the buses passing. There's a lot going on in this extremely, almost worryingly sunny afternoon. Yes, I'm looking at A Puzzle of Rebuses. Sir Ian Rankin, James McPherson, of course, hugely popular in Taggart as well, and Gray O'Brien. So James did the audiobook, and Gray I saw in the Rebus theatre adaptation last summer. This event will be chaired by broadcaster Nicola Meehan. I was just checking because I can't even remember, so I'll be there as well. I'm sorry to tell you.
Well, I had no idea, Nicola. That's lovely.
Did you hear him? He went, oh, good.
That's lovely. Yeah, no, it's good. Nice to have a friendly face.
Well, yes, if nothing else, thank you. And I don't think I'll need to say much anyway, because my goodness me, A Puzzle of Rebuses. It's great, isn't it, the number of incarnations this guy has had over the years, the number of times we've spoken about Rebus, Ian, but also even there, you've got the audio version, you've got the theatre adaptation, you've got several different TV incarnations. He's just not going away, right?
No,
you can't shake him.
We actually did try to get Richard Rankin, who last played Rebus on television, but he was just busy elsewhere, so we couldn't actually get him. That would have been lovely if he'd managed to take part as well. Every time I see or hear a different Rebus, the actor brings something new to it. Yeah. There's something, Gray on stage brought something to the character that I hadn't seen before. Even James's audiobooks, he brings something to all the characters, because he does all the voices. It's an extraordinary performance by him to do so many voices. The mark of a great actor is that he can do it, and he can convincingly do a woman as well as a male character. I love that. I love that. What it's going to be like on stage, well, it'll be up to you. If it's a disaster, Nicola, it's all your fault.
No pressure.
Don't I know it? And if it's a success, you guys were brilliant.
Yeah.
What's it been like for you seeing the whiskey murders out there? You mentioned seeing pictures, but also getting these interpretations of the story and your characters, because as Ian says, everyone sees or embodies or inhabits every single character slightly differently, and you'll now be getting this firsthand, Natalie.
Yeah, it's been strange to see to hear who's resonated with some people, because you know, I have my favourites, but other people have really picked up on some other people, and you know, the alternate chapters are written in the second person from the perspective of the murderer. So I've had quite a few people say, "Don't tell me, but is it this? Is it that person, or is it this?" And I've been guessing that, and obviously that's what I hoped people would do, but I didn't think they would, and you know, and a couple of people have said, "Oh, they've gone back to read some previous chapters to sort of, you know, see the hints that were maybe left," kind of thing.
That's what you want.
That's what
right?
I want, and I was like, I didn't, you know, so it's been very, very exciting to hear, and a lot of people really love Morag, which I really hoped as well.
Go Morag.
I love Morag.
Go
so,
Morag.
Yeah.
Also my mum's name. All the best, people. The other thing to say is that we've got the myriad interpretations of characters and stories within a book, but also within this festival and all these years, as you say, 14, Gordon, the writers, the breadth of writers that you have brought to Stirling and the way in which you've put them together is absolutely fascinating, because you don't see the same thing twice.
No, and I think that's partly down to the number of authors that come around every year. When we look at the number of debut authors that arrive every year, the number, like, you know, even the numbers entering, like yourself, entering the competitions goes up. But then there's also the authors that have just got bigger, or big authors that come along at the time. I remember right at the beginning, and Ian was there at the beginning, and Val McDermott was there at the beginning. Was one of the biggest things for us was Ian's support, just saying, I'll be there, because once you get people of a certain status, and other people want to be there, they want to gather. And I was saying earlier on, you know, that this year we've got 100, if you include the spotlight, there's 130 odd authors across the whole piece, 50 odd events, and When Bob McDevitt, who's the festival director, goes down to talk to the publishers this year, I think we were pitched, I was saying earlier, 350 authors.
Phenomenal.
In terms of the number. And every one of them crime. And that leads us to this discussion. We always have this, what is crime?
Quite.
Because it's so broad. It's what do you include and what don't you include, So my take on that is the one thing we've not had, because I did some events in America, is we've not had some of the authors that have the cat solves the crime. We haven't had. Now, we're not saying we don't, because they sell a lot of books, but it just shows you how broad a church there is in crime in terms of itself. And that's the great thing about bloody Scotland is, otherwise you'd be repeating yourself, and we're not.
No.
I mean, it's just phenomenal how many people are in this year's programme is just unbelievable.
It's also...
I look at the topics of the panels and things like that, the range there.
Yeah, quite exactly, the way we can all interact with that, and the number of people who are involved, but also the ways in which I think it's testament that this very, very loose idea of crime fiction, whatever that means or doesn't mean, is a jumping off point for pretty much anything that you ever want to explore within any of your books.
I mean, I think one of the glories of Bloody Scotland and Stirling is that it's very collegiate. I mean, all the crime writers are fans. Yeah. And so we all go to the events, and we're all sitting in the audience watching other writers, finding new authors, finding voices we've not heard before. That's always really exciting to us. And as you wander around Stirling, which is not the biggest city in the world, you will bump into authors. Yeah. If you're a fan, you'll bump into authors. If you're an author, you'll bump into fans. And we're all Jock Tamson's bairns in the city for that weekend. We're all here because we all love crime fiction. We're all passionate advocates of crime fiction. And it is a very broad church, hence the title of the TV show. It is a very broad church, and we've got everything. If you look at that programme, there will be something you want to see. Yeah, exactly. And somebody that you will bump into. We did the Radio Scotland afternoon show from here. I think it was a couple of years ago, live, literally in the bar. We just did the whole show down in the bar. And of course, there were lots of incredible guests who were all lined up. But I remember at one point, I was certainly speaking to Aber Mukherjee and someone else. And just loads. We were like, come. It was a bit like this completely ad hoc podcast that we're recording right now. It was like, just come and join us. It's fine. It was lovely. The other thing is, it's a very social event. So we came off air at 4 p.m. And we were all still in the bar at 1 a.m, including my mum and my wee brother, who runs a tattoo studio and who came up specially. So it's kind of, you get this lovely thing, even for the locals, it feels quite exotic for the weekend and quite exciting.
I think there's also some of the authors where the Golden Lion bar has become a kind of hub for it. And we always wanted that. We didn't want it to be something where the author sat in one place and the people coming along sat somewhere else. But there are occasions when you see authors at 2 o'clock in the morning and you think, I know you're on the 10 o'clock slot. It's going to be interesting. I've got one author who I can't name for reasons. It's 5 in the morning she went to bed, and I interviewed her at 10 o'clock. And she did amazingly well to get through the 1 hour.
The thing is, that's a lovely problem to have if the
Yeah.
authors are just enjoying themselves too much. Too much.
I'm glad both my events are on Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoy the
Yeah, you
rest.
can get wired into the rest of the weekend. I'm just literally flicking through the brochure that I have in my hand as we speak. Cozy Like Sunday Morning, Judy Murray, Jonathan Whitelaw among the authors there. This is at the Golden Lion. Oh, I'm going to be watching them the night before. 10:30 start on the Sunday. Yeah, okay, so we've got that. We have got in conversation Belinda Bauer and Ellie Griffiths. I'm literally just shout out if you hear any. There are so many. Richard Armitage and Denise Minor together. I do love the team ups as well. I love the fact that you've got these different characters and different perspectives. The psychology of villains. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Golden Lion, Saturday the 13th. I mean, when do you start working on... I remember you giving the sort of... at the roundup, I think it was at the Chris Brookmeyer event at the Stirling Albert Hall on the Sunday, Bloody Scotland last year.
That's right, yeah.
And you saying, here's the dates for next year, here's when it's going to be, and it feels like ages ago and ages away. Are you already, as a team, thinking about what's happening?
So
for
when
the
we
next year?
first started, the planning took a while to get there, and then we'd finish, and then it'd be quite a while before we got back together. But
Sure.
now we have a wrap-up meeting almost within 2 weeks of the thing finishing to
Sure.
start for the next year. But part of the issue is for some of the biggest names, and Ian's among these, the diary goes very far forward. So it's easy for us to say, well, we quite like someone, but you've got to ask early enough to get in.
Sure.
And also you have to look at what's been published, what's coming out. So if we don't start early, it actually starts to cause us a problem. So every year we've got earlier. In fact, this year I don't think we'll actually make the event before we start talking about 2026, which is kind of semi-depressing but really good fun at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's just the nature of some of the names in there. And also, importantly, you're talking about the panels and putting them together. You could just take 3 authors and say, we'll take any 3 authors and put them on the stage. But you have to think about what that's going to be like for the person watching.
Yes.
You have to say, right, do these people work together? Do they go together? I think, Ian, you were saying earlier on, one of the interesting things from you was you had a list of names you wanted to invite, and you were saying almost every one of them you went to first off said yes.
That quickly?
Yeah, that quickly. I mean, it was a list of people I wanted to interview.
Yep.
Writers that I admire who I've got questions for. I mean, that's it. That makes my job a bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're speaking about maybe new writers coming and audiences coming, fans coming and learning something about putting your voice to the page and bringing that to life. But also, I imagine that for any writer at any point, you're maybe still getting new ideas, even about insights into your own writing when you're speaking to other people, when you're listening to other people, because everyone has a slightly different perspective. Oh, you can come in. Who is it? It's Bob. We're recording a podcast, Bob. Come in. Yes, just come in. Just come in. This is a lovely interjection. Linwood Barclay.
I'm going to step away so Linwood can take my seat. Linwood, give us a few more minutes.
I know you need to. I know. He needs to go to his bed because he's been travelling back from Australia. Bob McDevitt, we literally... I got my daughter to drop this off. I just thought, let's just quickly record a podcast. We'll put it out later.
It's like
today.
coming into the middle of a movie or something.
It is a movie. Everything is a movie. Look, there's a lovely man in tartan shorts. I promise we won't keep you long, but listen, yeah. It was lovely to chat to you. Thank you for coming.
It was really good. You had great questions. It was a lot of fun, and it was good. What they call a good room.
It was a good room,
Yes,
wasn't
good
it?
room,
I
yeah.
didn't need a microphone, did I?
No. It's fine. It was great, and it was. Once in a while you do a room where where the audience just looks remarkably lifelike, but there's not really enough evidence to suggest that they're alive.
No, it was fab. And just we're speaking about Bloody Scotland and being in Stirling. You've been here before. Like, what? Do you have memories?
I was here one at a time for the actual festival, and then did a Zoom event. I thought it was like 3 years ago, apparently 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Where Stephen King and I had a chat, which was great fun.
We're just saying as well that when you're surrounded by other authors, you start thinking about your own work in a slightly different way when they talk about theirs. There's no shaking the fact that you internalise everything that's being discussed by whoever it is on the stage or in the bar.
Yes, especially there.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
It's a very social bar. So you are hopefully going to have some lovely family news soon. So you've got an event in Edinburgh tonight.
Edinburgh tonight, and then Capital Crime on Friday night in London, and heading home to Toronto on Sunday. And I'm just hoping that my daughter will hang on to the twins until I get back.
I love that every part of your life is a thriller at the moment. This is
No, it's
unreal.
chaos. It's not a thriller, it's chaos.
You nearly didn't get here because of a train, if not a haunted one. Who knows what's going to happen? Whistle is out now. We just give you a book plug as well. It's great.
There we go.
It's
Thank you so much for that.
read. And safe travels. It was lovely to meet
Thank
you.
you so
Hopefully we'll
much.
catch you again. Thank you to
And
do as well.
just before you go, Linwood, I've got to give you credit for something. We haven't got time to tell the story, right? But you told a story when you first came here, right? And I've used it about 40 or 50 times. I've credited you every time.
All
and
right.
every time I tell the story, it gets the biggest laugh of the night.
Which one was that? What was that story?
You were in Toronto when you turned up for a signing and there was nobody there.
Oh, well, I don't know if that... What I have said is that the only thing worse than nobody coming to your signing is one person coming. That's worse. And the other thing is, if there's only like one or two people, then you hope they haven't seen the author photo and you sort of sit behind them in the audience. and then about 10 minutes after the event was to start, you just say, well, this guy's clearly not coming. And you just get the hell out of there.
It was busy for you today.
Busy day. But that's
busy.
great. Authors lead very solitary, lonely existences. It's nice to come out and see people once in a while.
Well, it was lovely to see you. Thank
Good
you
to
so
see you.
much.
Okay.
And thank you for
Taking the
hopping
cake.
on the podcast. Good luck in Edinburgh tonight. You'll have a blast. Look at this. It's like musical chairs. This is brilliant. I'd love to help you with your bags, but I am sort of glued to my ad hoc table. And by the way, thank you for setting it up with me, Natalie, Jayne Clark.
Absolutely.
We just literally dragged it along. Safe travels, Linwood. Lovely to see you. This is so cute. Is this not
It's a
so?
live podcast.
This is like so bloody Scotland.
This is
real.
real. This is real. This is really
This is
close.
You
actually.
can't get more authentic.
I know.
Doesn't it?
I know. So we'll wrap up because I know Sir Ian Rankin has been travelling a lot of late, and you would like to probably unpack your bags at some point before your next adventures. Sir Ian Rankin, just to finish, presents the Reverend Richard Coles. I mean, that's just going to be an absolutely brilliant chat.
I've done events with Richard before. He's always fun. I don't need to be on stage. I can just ask him a question. I could walk off, sit in the audience, and he'll just talk for an hour, incredibly entertainingly about anything and everything. And good fun, but also interestingly, one of my questions for him will be, why crime fiction?
Quite.
Because so many celebrities, in inverted commas, have turned to crime fiction. What is it about crime fiction that really attracts everybody to it? They're not trying to write Ulysses. They're not trying to write romance or historical fiction. They're writing crime because they love crime, and everybody loves crime.
Absolutely, but also sometimes you do it and you're not necessarily entirely aware that's what you're doing. That was the case with you a little bit at the start, wasn't it?
A little bit right at the start, but only for about 5 minutes.
This is a winner. Seems to be going all right. Anyway, I'll get my questions ready. Not that I'll need them for a puzzle of rebuses. Just very quickly, is there anything else you want to mention, Gordon, before we...
The only other thing is, for the writers that want to be something in the future, we open Pitch Perfect at the end of the month. So that's the end of June.
Right.
That's where Natalie came through. So therefore, that's the chance, even if you don't have a book, you just have an idea to put it forward. And you might get a chance to actually stand in front of a couple of agents and a couple of publishers and pitch the idea. And we have had a phenomenal amount of people published over the years from that. So we always give a shout out for that, because people always ask, how do you get published?
Right, okay.
And that's one way to do it. I can't guarantee you'll get in, but it's worth taking a pitch.
Well, Natalie, you're a case in point.
It appealed to me partly because it was only 100 words, and that is amazing.
Okay.
Just for an application, and because it was just the strength of the idea. And then I got chosen to pitch out of however many tons of people, and then that was the Sunday, and by the Friday I had an agent and a preemptive book deal.
Good.
But you have to write a very good 100 words.
Yes, the 100.
Needs to be a good one. Well, it's like Linwood Barclay was saying. He went to his agent and he gave an idea, basically 10 words, no, and then there were 10 and she went, that's it, you got it. So, I might even do it myself. Anyway, thank you so much for suddenly coming in and allowing me to drag a table and recording a podcast with you. This is just to celebrate the launch. We'll talk more about it in time. But thank you, guys. Happy launch day, right?
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Nicola.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
There you go, a whistle-stop tour of some of the highlights from this year's Bloody Scotland programme, but have a look at the whole thing online, it is excellent. Thanks again to Ian Rankin, Natalie, Jayne Clark and Gordon Brown for joining me at the very last minute, to Fiona for corralling them at the very last minute, and to my daughter, my goodness, for dropping off my recording equipment. If you're a fan of crime fiction, you might enjoy my I Kick Up the Arts chat with Chris Brookmire, which we recorded during last year's Bloody Scotland, just after he won that year's McIlvanney Prize. He reflects on the impact of the musical Big Country, Ian Banks' superb book Espidere Street, and the movie Highlander on his work. And don't forget, you can join Val McDermott and I live at Edinburgh's Portobello Bookshop on July the 9th, where she's going to chat about a favourite Scottish album, film and book, along with her own work. And have a look online at both the Butte Noir and Edinburgh International Festival programmes if you fancy. They both launched this week too. I'll tell you more about them soon. For now though, thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, share the podcast, sign up for the newsletter. I would love you to do that at kickupthearts.org, and thank you so much if you do. Bye for now.